The sound of a drone is a low, persistent hum, a soundtrack to life in parts of Somalia. It's the sound of a war most Americans think ended decades ago, after the infamous Black Hawk Down incident in 1993. But the war never ended, it simply changed form, moving from the streets to the skies, from soldiers to drones. This is the story of America's longest, most hidden conflict, a war that spanned presidencies, shifted strategies, and cost countless lives, yet remains absent from our national conversation. We remember the images: starving children, ruthless warlords, and the chaos of Mogadishu. The U.S. mission meant to help ended in trauma and withdrawal. But that withdrawal wasn't an end, it was a transformation. The fight against chaos in Somalia continued, evolving into a blueprint for a new kind of American warfare, remote, secretive, and unending. This conflict has outlasted the Cold War, Afghanistan, and Iraq, quietly expanding under every administration. It's a war fought in our name with our resources, but almost entirely without our knowledge. The story of this forgotten war is about more than strategy, it's about the human cost, the civilians caught between insurgents, a fragile government, and the ever-present threat from above. It's a story of unintended consequences, of missions that morph from aid to combat, and of a nation unable to find peace for over 30 years. To understand this war is to confront a deeply unsettling chapter of modern American history, one still being written in secrecy. And it all began with a nation in freefall. In 1991, Somalia's government collapsed, plunging the country into anarchy. Warlords seized control, weaponizing hunger and hijacking food aid, while millions starved. Mogadishu became a patchwork of deadly fiefdoms. Law and order vanished overnight. The world watched as famine and violence claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. The United Nations sent peacekeepers and aid, but convoys were attacked and chaos reigned. Warlords like Mohammed Farah Aidid exploited the crisis, holding the country hostage. Good intentions proved powerless against ambition and firepower. The world turned to the United States, the only power seen as capable of breaking the warlords' grip. Relentless media coverage fueled calls for intervention. The question was no longer whether to act, but how. America was about to embark on a mission that would begin with hope and end in disaster. The stage was set for Operation Restore Hope. December 1992. U.S. Marines landed in Mogadishu, cameras rolling. Operation Restore Hope was framed as a humanitarian mission: secure the city, deliver food, save lives. For a moment it worked. American troops brought order, food aid flowed, and starvation rates fell. The world saw a rare success, military might used for compassion. The mission seemed clear: stabilize Somalia, hand over to the UN, and go home. But beneath the surface, the warlords waited, armed and patient. The U.S. mandate was limited. No nation building, no disarmament. The root causes of chaos remained untouched. The optimism was short-lived. The warlords had not been defeated, only sidelined. The mission's contradiction, solving a humanitarian crisis without addressing its political roots, would soon prove fatal. The seeds of future conflict were sown. The U.S. would soon find itself drawn deeper into a war it never intended to fight. The line between savior and soldier was about to blur, and the cost would be catastrophic. In 1993, the U.S. handed over to a new UN mission with a broader mandate: disarm warlords, rebuild Somalia. Mission creep set in. America shifted from feeding the hungry to hunting their oppressors. The turning point, June 5, 1993. Aidid's forces ambushed UN peacekeepers, killing 24. The mission became a manhunt for Aidid. U.S. Special Forces, Task Force Ranger, were deployed to capture or kill him. Mogadishu became a battleground. American soldiers, once seen as saviors, were now viewed as occupiers. Raids and firefights became routine, blurring the line between peacekeeping and war. Civilians suffered as the city turned hostile. Every operation deepened resentment and fueled resistance. The Americans who came to help now faced a population that saw them as aggressors. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. The cost of intervention was about to become painfully clear. The Battle of Mogadishu was imminent, and it would haunt U.S. foreign policy for decades. October 3, 1993. Task Force Ranger launched a raid in Mogadishu to capture Aidid's lieutenants. The plan was precise, the operation swift, until a Black Hawk helicopter was shot down. Suddenly, the mission became a desperate rescue. A second helicopter fell. American soldiers were trapped, surrounded, and outnumbered. The 1-hour raid became an 18-hour street battle. Elite US troops fought for survival against waves of militia fighters. The fighting was brutal, intimate, and relentless. Rescue convoys struggled to reach the trapped soldiers, facing fierce resistance. By dawn, 18 Americans were dead, over 70 wounded. Somali casualties numbered in the hundreds. The world watched in horror as images of a US soldier's body dragged through the streets flashed across TV screens. Public support for the mission evaporated overnight. The question in Washington shifted from how to win to how to get out. The Battle of Mogadishu became a symbol of American hubris and the perils of intervention. The US withdrew, leaving Somalia to its fate. But the war was far from over. A new, even more dangerous threat was about to emerge. After Black Hawk Down, America left Somalia. The UN soon followed. Somalia descended back into chaos, a failed state forgotten by the world. In the mid-2000s, the Islamic Courts Union briefly restored order, but the US, fearing extremism, backed an Ethiopian invasion to oust them. The invasion shattered peace and fueled a nationalist backlash. From the ruins, Al-Shabaab emerged, more brutal, more extreme, and soon allied with Al-Qaeda. Al-Shabaab seized territory, imposed harsh rule, and launched terror attacks across the region. The Westgate Mall attack in Kenya and the Garissa University massacre made clear. Al-Shabaab was a regional threat. America returned to Somalia, but this time in the shadows, covert operations, drone strikes, and special forces. Secret bases were built, surveillance intensified, and the first US airstrikes since the 1990s hit Somali soil. The war resumed, but now it was remote, secretive, and endless. The goal was no longer to restore hope, but to hunt and kill Al-Shabaab leaders. The conflict had become a forever war, with no clear front lines and no end in sight. America's longest war was back, just out of view. The battlefield had moved to the sky, and the cost would be paid by generations of Somalis. The forever war had truly begun. The new American war in Somalia is fought from the shadows: drones, special forces, and secret bases. Since 2007, hundreds of airstrikes have targeted Al-Shabaab, justified by laws written for a different enemy. The strategy: decapitate the group's leadership, train elite Somali commandos, and keep boots on the ground to a minimum. For the US, it's low risk and high tech. For Somalis, it's a source of constant fear. The sky, once a symbol of hope, now brings sudden death. Civilian casualties are common: farmers, families, children killed by strikes gone wrong. Each incident fuels Al-Shabaab's narrative and recruitment. Despite years of strikes, Al-Shabaab remains resilient, controlling territory and launching attacks. The US has contained the group, but not defeated it. The war from the sky has become a permanent state of conflict management. It's a forever war, waged far from the public eye, with no victory in sight. And for Somalis, the cost is measured in fear, loss, and lives shattered. For over 30 years, war has been the only reality for most Somalis. A generation has grown up, and is now raising children, in a world defined by violence and uncertainty. Threats come from all sides: Al-Shabaab militants, government forces, and the ever-present danger from the sky. The human cost is staggering. Millions face hunger, displacement, and disease. When disaster strikes, there are no strong institutions to help. Floods and famine displace millions into camps, where survival is a daily struggle. The Somali government, propped up by foreign aid, remains fragile and corrupt. Its authority rarely extends beyond the capital. Recent offensives against Al-Shabaab have stalled, and political infighting erodes public trust. The government America supports often fails to offer a real alternative to the insurgency. The war grinds on, hidden from headlines, but devastating for those who live it. Airstrikes fuel recruitment, and recruitment justifies more airstrikes, a self-perpetuating cycle. The soldiers of 1993 are gone, but the war remains, fought by a new generation with the same tragic results. The conflict is not over. It is happening right now. And we must ask, why do we forget Somalia when the war never stopped?